The stars above Earth held secrets that humanity did not yet know. In the darkness of space, a massive ship approached the blue planet. Inside that ship, Commander Vexter stood tall and proud. He was a Krithax warrior, standing 9 feet high, with thick armored skin that could stop bullets. His race had conquered 89 worlds across the galaxy. They had never failed a mission. "This will be easy," Vexter told his soldiers. Behind him, 2,000 Krithax warriors prepared their weapons and armor. Each one was a trained killer. Each one had destroyed cities on other planets. They laughed as they looked at Earth through their screens. "The gravity here is so weak," one warrior said. "We will move like gods on this soft world." "Their technology is primitive," another added. "They still use fossil fuels and simple computers. This mission will take 1 day, maybe 2. The Krithax had come for one reason. Deep in Earth's Amazon rainforest, their scanners had detected graviton crystals. These crystals were worth trillions of galactic credits. They could power ships for centuries. The Galactic Council had declared Earth a protected world. Contact with humans was forbidden until they developed faster-than-light travel. But the Krithax Empire did not care about rules. They took what they wanted. "Prepare for landing," Vexter commanded. "We drop into the Amazon exclusion zone at midnight. Find the crystals. Kill anything that gets in our way. We leave at dawn." The landing pods fell through Earth's atmosphere like meteorites. They struck the jungle canopy and smashed through layers of trees. The warriors emerged into darkness. Their armor glowed with energy shields. Their weapons hummed with deadly power. Night vision systems activated automatically. "Formation," Vexter ordered. The 2,000 warriors organized into groups of 50. Each group had scanners, heavy weapons, and medical supplies. They had everything they needed to handle a primitive planet. But something felt wrong, immediately. The air was thick and wet. It clung to their armor like syrup. The temperature was high, much higher than their scanners had predicted. Insects swarmed around their shields, trying to find a way through. The sounds of the jungle were loud and strange. Howls, clicks, screams that sounded almost human. "Sir, I'm detecting thousands of life forms," a scanner operator reported. "The density here is incredible. I've never seen so many creatures in one area. They're just animals," Vexter said. "Weak, stupid animals. Ignore them and focus on finding the crystals." The warriors began to march through the jungle. Their heavy feet crushed plants and small creatures. They cut through vines with energy blades. Within the first hour, something strange happened. A scout at the edge of the formation simply disappeared. One moment he was there, the next moment, gone. "Report," Vexter demanded silence. "Scout Team 3, report immediately. More silence. Send a search unit," Vexter ordered. His confidence was beginning to crack. A warrior didn't just vanish. Their armor had tracking systems. Their weapons had emergency beacons. But the scout's signals were completely dead. 20 minutes later, another warrior disappeared. Then 2 more. The search units found nothing. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle. Just empty jungle where soldiers had been standing moments before. "Tighten the formation," Vexter commanded. "Stay within sight of each other. Something is hunting us." The warriors moved closer together. They activated their thermal sensors and motion detectors. The screens lit up with thousands of targets. Animals were everywhere. In the trees, on the ground, under the ground, swimming in nearby water. Flying overhead, the jungle was alive with movement. "There are too many signals," a warrior complained. "I can't tell which ones are threats." "Okay, all of them are threats until proven otherwise," Vexter snapped. "Stay alert." As dawn began to break, the warriors saw their surroundings clearly for the first time. The jungle was beautiful and terrifying. Trees stretched hundreds of feet into the sky. Vines hung like ropes between branches. Flowers bloomed in colors that seemed too bright to be natural. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, there was life. A warrior reached out to touch a colorful frog sitting on a leaf. The creature was tiny, barely the size of his thumb. It looked harmless. "Don't," another warrior started to warn. Too late. The frog's skin secreted poison. The warrior's glove began to dissolve. He screamed and pulled his hand back, but the poison had already touched his skin. Within seconds, his arm was numb. Within a minute, he couldn't breathe. The medics rushed to help him, but they had no treatment for earth toxins. The warrior died in 5 minutes, killed by a creature smaller than his finger. Vexter stared at the tiny frog. It sat calmly on its leaf, unbothered by the chaos it had caused. The commander felt something he had not felt in decades of warfare. Fear. "This isn't a primitive planet," he said quietly. "This is a death world." Around him, his warriors began to understand the terrible truth. Earth wasn't classified as restricted because humans were dangerous. It was restricted because the entire planet was a weapon. Everything here had evolved to kill. Everything here was optimized for survival in the most competitive environment in the galaxy, and they had just landed in the worst part of it, as the sun rose fully over the Amazon. Strange sounds filled the air. Howler monkeys screamed warnings. Birds cried out in alarm. Somewhere in the distance, a jaguar roared its territorial claim. The Krithax warriors, conquerors of worlds, stood frozen in the jungle. For the first time in their proud history, they realized they were not the apex predators. They were prey. Part 2. Nature's Fury. The first full day in the Amazon tested everything the Krithax thought they knew about warfare. Commander Vexter ordered his warriors to establish a base camp near a clearing. The ground looked solid and dry. The trees provided cover from above. It seemed like a perfect defensive position. It was a trap as the warriors began setting up their equipment. The ground beneath them shifted. What they thought was solid earth was actually a thin layer of vegetation over a river. 3 warriors fell through and splashed into murky water. They tried to swim back to shore, but they never made it. Came and exploded from the water. These reptilian predators had been waiting silently below the surface. Their jaws clamped down on Krithax limbs with crushing force. The warriors' armor, designed to stop energy weapons, cracked under the bite pressure of Earth's ancient predators. "Help them," Vexter shouted. More warriors rushed to the river's edge. They fired their weapons into the water, but it was too late. Piranhas, attracted by blood in the water, swarmed in a feeding frenzy. Within 30 seconds, the 3 warriors were gone. The river turned dark with alien blood. The surviving warriors backed away from the water. They stared in horror at the peaceful-looking river. It had killed 3 of their best soldiers in less than a minute, but the river was just the beginning of their problems. Mosquitoes descended on the Krithax force like a living cloud. The warriors' energy shields were designed to stop projectiles and energy blasts. They did nothing against insects. The mosquitoes bit through gaps in armor joints. Each bite injected parasites and diseases that Earth had spent millions of years perfecting. "Sir, warriors are reporting fever and weakness," a medic informed Vexter. "Our immune systems can't identify the pathogens. The medical computers have no records of these diseases." "How many are infected?" Vexter asked. "All of them, sir. Everyone who has been bitten is showing symptoms. Within hours, malaria and dengue fever spread through the Krithax ranks. Warriors who could bend steel with their bare hands now shivered with fever. Their advanced biology, which made them strong on their homeworld, became a weakness here. Earth's diseases attacked their systems in ways their bodies had never evolved to fight. As the sick warriors tried to rest, the jungle sent its next attack. The ground erupted with fire ants. Millions of them poured out of hidden nests, their march triggered by the vibrations of Krithax boots. Each ant carried venom that caused burning pain. Individually, they were harmless. But they never attacked individually. "Get them off. Get them off." Warriors screamed as ants crawled into their armor. The tiny insects found every gap, every opening. They bit and stung in coordinated waves. Warriors rolled on the ground trying to crush the ants, but for every 100 they killed, 1,000 more took their place. The medics tried to help, but then the bullet ants arrived. These inch-long insects had stings that felt like gunshots. Warriors who had endured battle wounds without complaint now cried out in agony. The pain was so intense that some warriors passed out. Then came the spiders, Brazilian wandering spiders. Some of the most venomous creatures on Earth emerged from the jungle floor. They moved with frightening speed. Their bites caused paralysis and respiratory failure. The Krythok's anti-venom was useless. It was designed for alien toxins, not Earth biochemistry. Fall back. Fall back, Vexter ordered. His perfect military formation collapsed into chaos. Warriors ran in every direction, trying to escape the swarms of tiny attackers. That's when the storm hit. Dark clouds rolled over the jungle faster than the Krythok's weather sensors could track. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the ground. Rain fell in sheets so thick that warriors couldn't see 5 feet in front of them. "I've never seen a storm like this," a weather specialist reported. "The wind speed is increasing every second. The lightning strikes are hitting the same locations repeatedly. It's like the storm is targeting us." Lightning struck their equipment. Communications arrays exploded. Power generators overloaded. The electromagnetic pulse from each strike fried their sensitive electronics. The Krythok's, who relied on their advanced technology, were suddenly deaf and blind. Then the rain caused flash floods. Water rushed through the jungle in a wall 10 feet high. Warriors tried to climb trees or grab onto rocks, but the current was too strong. Entire squads were swept away, carried downstream into rapids and waterfalls. Their heavy armor, designed for protection, became anchors that dragged them down. Trees, weakened by the rain, began to fall. A massive kapok tree crashed through the canopy. It crushed 12 warriors before they could move. Their armor, strong enough to withstand explosions, crumpled like paper under multi-ton wood moving at high speed by nightfall. Commander Vexter counted his remaining forces. Of 2,000 warriors who had landed the previous night, only 600 were still combat-ready. 400 were dead. The rest were missing, injured, or dying from disease and poison. The commander tried to call the ship in orbit for emergency extraction. His communicator sparked and went dead. The storm had destroyed their long-range equipment. "They were trapped, sir." A lieutenant approached him. "The warriors are afraid. They've never faced anything like this. These aren't soldiers or weapons we're fighting. It's just ... nature, and it's winning." Vexter wanted to argue. He wanted to say that the mighty Krythok's empire could overcome anything. But as he looked around at his devastated force, he couldn't find the words in the darkness. The jungle sounds grew louder. Howls, roars, screams. The Krythok's warriors huddled together, burning precious energy to maintain defensive perimeters. They had stopped making jokes about the primitive planet. Now they whispered fearfully about the demon world they had invaded far above. In the orbiting ship, the crew watched their ground forces' vital signs blink out one by one. The captain stared at the screen in disbelief. Now what could do this to our warriors? An officer asked. The captain had no answer. Neither did anyone else. They could only watch and wait as Earth, the beautiful blue planet that looked so peaceful from space, slowly destroyed the most elite military force in the Krythok's empire. Part 3. The Deathworld's Lessons Day 2 began with death. 800 Krythok's warriors remained alive. Though many were sick or injured, they had given up trying to complete their mission. Now they only wanted to survive until rescue arrived. Commander Vexter gathered his officers for a strategy meeting. "We need to reach higher ground," he said, pointing at his map. "Away from the rivers and the flooding, we'll establish a signal beacon that the ship can detect through the storm interference." It was a good plan. It should have worked. A warrior named Drax was standing guard at the edge of the camp. He saw movement in the leaves and reached down to push aside some vegetation. His hand disturbed a nest of fertilent snakes. These vipers struck faster than his enhanced reflexes could track. Fangs sank into his arm. Venom flooded his system. Drax screamed and stumbled backward. Other snakes struck at his legs. Within seconds, he had been bitten 7 times. The medics rushed to help. They injected anti-venom from their medical kits. But it was useless. The anti-venom was designed for known galactic toxins, Earth snake venom was completely different. It attacked Krithak's biology in ways the medics had never seen. Drax's blood stopped clotting. He bled from his eyes, his nose, his mouth. His organs began to fail. The medics could only watch helplessly as their comrade died in horrible pain. 11 more warriors died the same way that morning, all from disturbing snake nests hidden in the jungle. But snakes were not the worst thing waiting for them. A warrior named Kex noticed his wounded leg felt strange. When he looked down, he saw white threads growing from the injury. At first, he thought it was infection. Then the threads spread. They pushed through his skin like roots through soil. "What is happening to me?" Kex screamed. The medic examined him and went pale. "It's fungus. Some kind of parasitic fungus that's growing inside you." The fungus was cordyceps, evolved over millions of years to infect insects. But the earth strain found in this part of the Amazon was aggressive. It didn't care that Kex was an alien. It just needed a host. The fungus spread through his nervous system, taking control. Kex began walking into the jungle. Other warriors tried to stop him, but he fought them with surprising strength. His eyes were empty. He wasn't in control anymore. The fungus was driving him to a place where it could spread its spores. "Stop him," Vexthor ordered. "That's not Kex anymore. He's being controlled." They watched in horror as their comrade disappeared into the trees, driven by a parasite rewriting his brain. 6 more infected warriors followed him over the next few hours. The Krithaks had conquered civilizations, but they had never fought an enemy that could hijack their own bodies. The march to higher ground became a nightmare. A jaguar began stalking the group. The warriors never saw it coming. The great cat moved through the jungle like a ghost. It would strike at a warrior at the back of the formation, drag them into the undergrowth, and vanish before anyone could respond. By the time the others arrived, there was only blood and scattered armor. "How can one animal defeat our weapons?" a warrior asked in frustration. "It's not fighting us," Vexthor realized. "It's hunting us. And it's better at this than we are." Jaguar killed 12 warriors before it finally left, satisfied with its hunt. But the jungle had more surprises. Army ants appeared like a carpet flowing over the ground. There were millions of them, maybe billions. They moved as one organism, consuming everything in their path. A squad of warriors who had stopped to rest was caught in the middle of the swarm. "Run," the squad leader shouted. But there was nowhere to run. The ants were everywhere. They crawled over armor, finding seams and joints. They bit with powerful mandibles. The warriors screamed as ants entered their bodies through every opening. The rest of the Krithaks force watched helplessly from a safe distance. They couldn't risk their weapons. The ants were too small and too numerous. Within an hour, the squad was gone. The ants moved on, leaving behind only bones inside empty armor. Commander Vexthor realized they needed to cross a river to reach higher ground. He studied the water carefully. It looked calmer than the river that had killed his warriors yesterday. They had no choice. They had to risk it. "Link together," he ordered. "Use your grappling cables. If one falls, the others pull them up." The first group began crossing. The water was waist-deep and moving fast. They were halfway across when the anacondas attacked. These massive snakes, some over 20 feet long, wrapped around Krithak's legs and pulled them underwater. Warriors tried to cut the snakes with their energy blades, but the reptiles' muscular bodies absorbed the attacks. Then electric eels joined the fight. They released bursts of electricity that overloaded the warriors' armor systems. Shields failed. Weapons stopped working. Warriors became helpless in the water. CAIM struck from downstream. Piranhas came from upstream. Kandiro, tiny parasitic fish, found their way into body openings and burrowed inward. The river became a massacre. Warriors on the shore tried to help. They fired into the water and threw lifelines. But it was too late. In 20 minutes, 200 Krithaks died in that river. The survivors stood on the shore, staring at the water in defeat. "We can't cross," Vexthor admitted. "We'll have to find another way." But there was no other way. The jungle boxed them in on all sides. Every direction led to more danger, more death, that evening.
Ow.
As the exhausted survivors made camp, a scout reported something impossible. "Sir, I saw humans. Native people. They were moving through the jungle like it was easy, like they belonged here." Vexer didn't believe it at first, but then he saw them too. Indigenous people, small and seemingly fragile, walked paths that the Krithax couldn't safely navigate. They stepped over snake nests. They avoided ant trails. They moved between dangers with practiced ease. A human child, no more than 10 years old, picked up a venomous spider with bare hands. The child examined it, smiled, and placed it gently on a tree. Then the child looked directly at Vexther and waved. The commander of the Krithax Empire, conqueror of worlds, felt humbled by a child. These humans weren't strong like the Krithax. They weren't armored. They had no energy weapons or shields. But they thrived where his warriors died. "They're not primitive," Vexther whispered. "They're the ultimate survivors." Part 4. The humbling day 4 arrived with the bitter taste of defeat. Fewer than 100. Krithax warriors remained alive. They had abandoned their heavy equipment to move faster. They had shed damaged armor to move quieter. They had stopped thinking like conquerors and started thinking like desperate refugees. Commander Vexther looked at his remaining soldiers. They were infected with diseases, poisoned by bites and stings, starving because their food supplies had been destroyed by rain and insects. And exhausted beyond anything they had experienced in warfare, we continued to the coast, Vexther ordered. "The ship can extract us from a beach. It's our only chance." Commoner Krell, one of Vexther's most trusted officers, pointed at a group of indigenous people watching them from a distance. "Sir, what about them?" "The humans. What about them?" Vexther snapped. "They're primitives. We don't need their help. With respect, sir, we're dying and they're thriving. Maybe there's something we can learn." Vexther's pride flared. "Learn from humans? We are Krithax. We have conquered 18-9 worlds. I will not beg help from a species that hasn't even left its own planet." The force split. Vexther took 30 warriors and headed toward the coast, determined to maintain his dignity. Krell and 14 others stayed behind, willing to accept whatever help the humans might offer. Vexther's group moved through the jungle with grim determination. But Earth wasn't finished with them. They encountered a Brazilian wandering spider's nest. These spiders, among the most venomous on Earth, defended their territory aggressively. 5 warriors died from bites before the group could retreat. Later, they walked through an area thick with poison dart frogs. The brightly colored amphibians weren't aggressive, but touching them was fatal. 3 warriors made contact and died within minutes. An anaconda den claimed for more lives. The massive snakes struck from murky water and dragged warriors down before anyone could react. One by one, warriors fell to infection, to exhaustion, to predation, to poison. The jungle didn't care about their pride or their past victories. It simply consumed them. Meanwhile, Krell's group approached the indigenous humans carefully. The warriors held their hands open and weapons lowered. They didn't know how to communicate with these people. They hoped their desperation was obvious. An elder Yanomami man studied the aliens. He spoke to his people in a language the Krithax didn't understand. The humans debated for several minutes. Finally, the elder nodded. The humans left gifts at the edge of the clearing. Medicinal plants that could reduce fever. Fruits that were safe to eat. Clay that could draw out poison from wounds. Clean water in natural containers. Krell watched a human woman crush leaves and mix them into a paste. She gestured for him to approach, then applied the paste to his infected wounds. The pain began to ease almost immediately. "They're helping us," a warrior named Vex said in wonder. "After we invaded their home, after we destroyed their forest with our weapons, they're still helping us," the humans taught through action and patience. They showed the Krithax which paths were safe and which were dangerous. They demonstrated how to identify poisonous plants. They revealed hidden water sources. They pointed out snake nests and spider dens before the aliens could stumble into them. Krell watched a human child, no taller than his knee, handle a venomous snake with calm expertise. The child caught the snake behind its head, examined it, and released it away from the group. The child smiled at Krell, showing no fear at all. That's when Krell truly understood. These humans weren't surviving the Amazon despite their limitations. They were thriving because they had adapted to it. They had learned its rhythms, its dangers, its secrets. They belonged here in a way the Krithox never could. "We are the primitives," Krell said softly. "Not them." Back in the jungle, Commander Vexther struggled through a swamp with his remaining 15 warriors. They were lost, sick, and running out of time. A warrior collapsed from fever. Another fell into quicksand like mud and was pulled under before they could save him. "Sir, we need to turn back," a lieutenant begged. "We need help. Please." Never Vexther growled. "The Krithax do not beg. We do not bow to lesser species." That night, Vexther's pride cost more lives. Warriors who could have been saved died because their commander refused to seek help. By day 6, only Vexther and 3 others remained alive from his group. They finally reached a clearing within sight of the coast. Vexther activated his emergency beacon, praying the ship would detect it. He fell to his knees, too weak to stand. "We made it," he whispered. "Tell command. Tell them Earth is a cursed hell world. Tell them to never come back." Those were Commander Vexther's last words. He died there in the clearing, killed not by weapons, but by accumulated infections, exhaustion, and organ failure from various toxins. Of the 30 warriors who had followed him, only 2 remained alive when the rescue ship finally detected their beacon. Meanwhile, Krell's group of 15 reached the same coastal area 2 days later. They were weak but alive. The humans had led them along safe paths, avoiding the worst dangers. When the humans pointed to the sky and made a leaving gesture, Krell understood. They knew the aliens would be rescued. They had helped anyway. "Why?" Krell asked, knowing they couldn't understand his words. "Why help us after we invaded your home?" An elder Yanomami woman smiled and spoke in her language. Krell didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was teaching them a lesson, showing them that strength wasn't about weapons or conquest. It was about wisdom, compassion, and adaptation. When the rescue ship's shuttle landed in the clearing, 5 Krithox warriors walked out of the jungle alive. 2 from Vexther's group, 3 from Krell's group, plus Krell himself. The pilot stared in shock. 5. He said, "Only 5 out of 2,000? Krell looked back at the jungle. The humans had already disappeared, melting back into their world as silently as they had appeared. He raised his hand in salute to them. "Only 5, Krell confirmed. "And we only survived because we learned to be humble." Part 5. The Testament. The shuttle carried 5 survivors through Earth's atmosphere and back to the Krithax warship in orbit. The medical bay crew rushed to help them, shocked by their condition. These warriors looked like corpses. Their armor was gone. Their skin showed dozens of infections. Their eyes held a haunted look that veteran soldiers recognized as deep trauma. "Quarantine them immediately," the chief medical officer ordered. "I'm detecting at least 40 different pathogens in their systems. Nothing in our database matches these diseases." For 2 weeks, the 5 survivors fought for their lives as Krithax medicine battled Earth's microscopic invaders. Malaria parasites, bacterial infections, fungal spores, toxins that had been sitting in their bodies for days. The medical computers worked constantly to identify and counter each threat. Subcommander Krell recovered first. As soon as he could stand, he requested an emergency meeting with the War Council. The council gathered via holographic communication, connecting military leaders from across the Krithax Empire. Subcommander Krell, the Supreme General, began. "Explain how 2,000 elite warriors were reduced to 5 survivors in 7 days. What weapon did Earth use against you?" "No weapon, sir," Krell said quietly. "Just the planet itself." He played footage from his armor's camera system. The council watched in silence as the horror unfolded. They saw warriors torn apart by piranhas, killed by tiny frogs, dragged underwater by anacondas, consumed by army ants, struck down by spiders smaller than a thumb. "This is impossible," a council member said. "Those are just animals, primitive life forms. How could they defeat our technology?" Krell brought up planetary analysis data. Earth has experienced over 3 billion years of continuous evolution with no major resets. No cosmic impacts that caused mass extinctions. No invasions that wiped the evolutionary slate clean. Just endless competition for survival. He displayed more data. Every organism on Earth has been locked in arms, race with every other organism for longer than most civilized species have existed. The result is the most dangerous ecosystem in known space. But the humans, another council member protested, they're physically weak. Their technology is centuries behind ours. How can you call them dangerous? Krell smiled grimly. Watch this. He showed footage of the Yanomami people. A child handling deadly spiders. Adults walking through areas that had killed dozens of Krithaks. Humans thriving in conditions that had destroyed the Empire's best warriors. Humans didn't become Earth's dominant species through strength, Krell explained. They're not the fastest, strongest, or most venomous. They survived through intelligence, adaptability, cooperation, and pure stubborn persistence. They learned to master the death world from the inside. He paused to let that sink in. Think about what that means. Humans spent millions of years evolving alongside everything else in that hell. They learned to understand, predict, and survive every danger we encountered. That's why they're more dangerous than the planet itself. They carry its lessons with them.
Ow.
The Supreme General leaned forward. Are you suggesting that humans are a threat to the Empire? I'm suggesting we treat them with extreme caution and respect, Krell said. Right now, there are 7 billion humans on Earth. Each one is a survivor of the galaxy's deadliest proving ground. They don't know it yet, but they're already the most formidable species we've ever encountered. Not because of their weapons, but because of what they survived to reach this point. The War Council debated for hours. Some members argued for a massive military response to avenge their fallen warriors. Others suggested quarantining Earth permanently. Finally, the Supreme General made his decision. We will petition the Galactic Council to elevate Earth's protection status, he announced. And we will issue a formal apology for violating their space. The chamber erupted in protest. The Krithaks Empire never apologized. Never showed weakness. Enough. The Supreme General roared. 2,000 warriors are dead because of our arrogance. I will not sacrifice more lives to protect our pride. Earth has taught us a lesson. We would be fools not to learn it. The War Council reluctantly agreed. The Krithaks Empire formally apologized to the Galactic Council and proposed a new planetary classification. Death World Omega. It would be the highest warning level, reserved for planets so dangerous that their native species must be approached with extreme caution. Subcommander. Krell became the Empire's leading expert on Earth and humanity. He gave lectures at military academies across Krithak space. His presentation always began the same way. We believed strength was measured in armor and weapons, he would tell young cadets. Earth taught us that true strength is adaptation. Humans survived their own planet. That makes them more formidable than any species we've conquered. He showed footage of the Amazon, of tiny creatures killing armored warriors, of humans moving through dangers that the Krithaks couldn't even detect until it was too late. Never underestimate a species based on their technology level, Krell warned. The humans on Earth don't have starships yet. They don't have energy weapons, but they have something more valuable. They have the knowledge of how to survive the unsurvivable. When they finally reach the stars, they'll bring Earth's lessons with them. The story spread through galactic channels. Other species watched the footage and whispered fearfully. The Krithaks, one of the most powerful military forces in known space, had been destroyed by a single planet. What did that say about Earth's inhabitants? Diplomatic protocols changed across the galaxy. Earth's status was elevated from protected developing world to critical observation priority. military planners began studying human psychology, trying to understand what made them such effective survivors. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity continued their daily lives completely unaware of the attention they had attracted. They went to work, raised families, explored their planet, and dreamed of reaching the stars someday. They didn't know that alien species watched them with a mixture of fear and respect. 7 years later, Sub-Commander Krell returned to Earth's orbit in a cloaked observation ship. He had requested this assignment specifically. He wanted to see the humans again. Through powerful telescopes, he watched cities glowing in the darkness. He saw highways filled with vehicles, airplanes crossing oceans, ships navigating dangerous seas. Humans had spread to every continent, every environment. Mountains, deserts, frozen tundra. They adapted to everything. They're multiplying, an observation officer noted. 7.5 billion now. Their population grows faster than any other species at this technology level. Krell nodded. Of course they multiply. Everything on Earth tried to kill them for millions of years. They evolved to reproduce successfully despite massive predation pressure. A junior officer asked the question everyone was thinking. Sub-Commander, should we fear them? Krell thought about Commander Vexter, who had died because he couldn't let go of his pride. He thought about the Yanomami people who had saved his life, despite having every reason to let him die. He thought about the child who had smiled at him while holding a deadly snake. We should respect them, Krell said finally. They conquered the unconquerable. They survived conditions that killed 95% of our invasion force. And they did it without energy weapons or shields or advanced technology. They did it with knowledge, adaptation, and cooperation. He zoomed in on a city where millions of humans lived in close proximity. Look at them. They've learned to work together on a massive scale. They've learned to solve problems through innovation. They've learned that survival sometimes means helping those who are different from you. Krell thought about the elder woman who had smiled at him in the jungle, showing mercy to an invader. When humans finally reach the stars, Krell continued, they won't just bring their technology. They'll bring their ability to survive anything. Their refusal to give up, their capacity to adapt and learn. The galaxy will never be the same. His report to Krithak's command became required reading for every military officer in the Empire. Its title was simple but powerful. The Amazon Lesson, Why? Humanity must be approached as equals. The final paragraph. Haunted military strategists across known space. 2,000 of our best warriors entered a small section of one environment on one continent of Earth. 5 returned. Now imagine if we had to face humanity itself, billions of survivors from the ultimate death world, unified and armed. We wouldn't stand a chance. Not because they're stronger than us, but because they're better at surviving than anyone else in the galaxy.